Very good evening, friends. Today we have the pleasure of having with us CA Bhavya Bansal Goel ji and CA Vipin Agarwal ji, who will be deliberating on Arbitration and Conciliation Act, including mediation. This is one of the parts of the subject, but it being a little difficult, I thought it fit to invite some speaker on the subject who has got deep knowledge of the subject. So with this, over to CA Bhavya Bansal Goel ji, who will be introducing the subject, and then Vipin Agarwal ji will be taking over from her. So please.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So, I would be touching upon the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. With respect to the basic brief background, I'll be touching the domestic arbitration and the international commercial arbitration, and Vipinji would be touching on the conciliation part of it. So, I will just share my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, you can do it in yeah.
Yes, now it's better.
Okay. So, arbitration in India, it's governed by the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. Now, what is arbitration? Arbitration is primarily it's a dispute resolution mechanism, and like we have courts, जैसे civil courts होते हैं हमारे high court है. So ऐसे arbitration is a kind of a dispute resolution, simple words में. But why arbitration? I think the question will come to everybody's mind. So the advantage of arbitration is that since 2015 now they have put a limit of the arbitration has to be completed within 12 months. So I think the time frame within which it is completed is the biggest advantage why people would probably want to go in for arbitration. That is the biggest advantage to my mind. Now I will just take you through the brief background. The Arbitration Act was enacted in 1996. However, before that, it was governed by three protocols or acts in India. One was the Arbitration Protocol and Convention Act 1937. Second was the Indian Arbitration Act 1940 and the Foreign Awards Recognition and Enforcement Act 1961. The Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996, it is broadly based on the 1985 United Nations Commission on International Trade Model Law, which is famously known as UNCITRAL Model Law. So uh, this has the model laws on arbitration which are followed all across the world by various nations. So our law is also based on the UNCITRAL model. The structure of the Arbitration Act is it has four parts. So, part one, it consists of 10 chapters ranging from section 2 to 43. It lays down certain general provisions of arbitration, and as I mentioned earlier, it adopts most of the provisions of the model ancestral law. Part 1A, this was inserted by the 2019 amendment. It deals with the Arbitration Council of India, and it ranges from section 43A to 43M. So the purpose of bringing this amendment was to give a boost to arbitration in India. So Arbitration Council of India was set up. Part 2, it consists of section 44 to 60. It gives law on the recognition and enforcement of foreign arbitral awards. So it has further two chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So chapter 1 enforces the New York Convention Awards. There are two conventions recognized across the world. One is the New York Convention, second is the Geneva Convention. We'll discuss this further in detail. Part 3, it deals with conciliation proceedings, and Part 4 sets out certain supplementary provisions. Then further, there are certain schedules also in the Act which give various other clarifications, such as Schedule 4. It gives the model fees which has to be charged by the arbitrator. Schedule 5 and Schedule 7, it gives certain uh,
This is
when an
regarding the
arbitrator cannot
yeah,
be appointed, when a person cannot become an arbitrator.
when it's
Then there were
impartiality.
major amendments.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, continue,
You
brother,
said
please. No, no, continue. Yeah, please.
major amendments in 2015. It was to do the effect of certain judicial precedents and limiting the judicial intervention. So in 2015, they had brought earlier any arbitration could be further the person if he's not happy with the award, for example, the result of the arbitration, they just go to the court. So they limited this in the 2015 amendment. Then in 2019, there was another major amendment, as I discussed earlier. This was to give impetus to the institutional arbitration in India, so as to make India a robust center for arbitration. Now we come to the basic question of what is arbitrability? What all issues can be arbitrated. So, in the case of Booz Allen and Hamilton versus SBI Finance, the Supreme Court emphasized that the scope of arbitrable disputes must be limited to those concerning rights in personam or personal rights. So, this is important that only the rights in personam could be arbitrable and rights in rem could not be subject to arbitration. I will discuss this in this slide. So, which disputes are arbitrable? So, what are rights in rem? Rights in rem are rights which are exercisable against the public at large. For example, are fundamental rights. So, for example, if right to the peaceful occupation of a property, that is a fundamental right against the public at large. What is right in personam? Right in personam is a right which is exercisable against a specific individual. For example, if there's a dispute between me and you, and like there's a contract related to sale of goods, and we have a dispute on that. So that particular dispute is subject to arbitration. So, what disputes are arbitrable? All contractual disputes, including matters of simple fraud, leave and license agreements, IP rights, torts, employment contracts, actions for cancellation of deeds, etc. Which
Bhavya, I would like to add here,
yeah,
like we talked about RAM and in persona. So, like simple fraud you have mentioned.
yeah,
So, as simple fraud, although fraud is a crime against the society, ओके लेकिन जब यहाँ पर हम बात कर रहे हैं सिंपल फ्रॉड की तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ जब कोर्ट ने देखा कि भाई सिंपल फ्रॉड मींस व्हाट व्हेन इट इज अफेक्टिंग द पार्टीज टू द डिस्प्यूट ओनली
exactly,
so
yeah, yeah,
actually what we are doing in arbitration we are hiring a judge so it is like we have selected a judge that he will act in case there is a dispute and he will decide the matter on our behalf so we'll pay him as per the fees determined or as per the procedure that we will follow so the that hired judge cannot act for all other matters which affect the society at a large. So, like in case of a marriage, we may think marriage is between two person only, but yes,
I'm
yeah,
coming to
okay, okay,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, simple fraud is, we've put simple fraud because of the reason, actually, all this will become clear as we go ahead. Simple fraud is just between two parties if there's a dispute. This is what the purpose is of this. Then, which are the non arbitrable disputes? Criminal matters, matrimonial disputes. Vipinji, you wanted to say something on this
yeah,
matrimonial
yeah, yeah.
disputes?
On this, I was trying to come on the marriage. Marriage, in case we see it is only a contract between two persons. You know? But when we go deeper into it, the court said that marriage is for the society at a large because we are married couple for the society at a large. So if private judge cannot decide that what kind of award can be passed in case there is a dispute. So in case of a marriage contract, like in Muslim marriage is a contract, so there cannot be arbitration clause being put into it. Yes, in case there is any dispute, it can be referred to any arbitration because it is a right in personam. It is a right that affects the society at a large. So this is the main theme of this entire discussion. What is RAM? What is persona? Yeah,
Right.
please.
Yeah. So, similarly, guardianship matters, then insolvency, eviction or tenancy matters, statutory penalties, competition issues, they cannot be subject to arbitration.
Similarly, mortgage is also a right in rem, so it cannot be arbitrable.
Yeah. Now, as per the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, now we come to a very important aspect of it. When can an arbitration take place? It can happen only if there is a valid arbitration agreement in place. So, what constitutes a valid arbitration agreement? It is provided in Section 7 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. There has to be an agreement by the parties, it has to be in writing, they have to submit to arbitration all or certain disputes which have arisen or which may arise between them in respect of a defined legal relationship, whether contractual or not. Just one second. Sorry. I was I was just feeling a little. Okay. So now the important aspects of a valid arbitration agreement are it has to be in writing. There has to be a document which is signed by the parties that we will subject this a dispute to arbitration. It can be by way of the main agreement or by way of a supplementary clause in another document which refers to the main contract. Further, it can be by way of letters, telex, or any other means of communication. Electronic means are also included, which provide a record that there is an agreement. So it can be even by way of a WhatsApp. Exchange of statements between parties in which one party alleges and the other does not deny. This is an important aspect. So suppose there is a discussion between me and Vipinji, and I say that we will refer our dispute to arbitration. I send him an email, for example, and he does not deny it. Then this will be considered that he has accepted it, and our dispute can be referred to arbitration.
In this arbitration agreement can be entered into at any point of time. It's not mandatory that it should be done at the time when we sign the initial agreement. So at any
Right.
point of time we can discuss, we can decide that we would like this to be arbitrated upon first before we move to other litigation part of it.
Right. Now, we'll come to another important aspect, which is deciding on the seat and the venue. So, as per Section 20 of the Arbitration Act, it says that parties are free to agree on place of arbitration. So I just want to put a caveat here first that it's a big act. So I'm not going to discuss each and every section. I'm just taking up the main aspects which we can cover in 1 hour approximately. So seat and venue is important. We discussed about arbitrability, then we discussed about forms of arbitration agreement. Seat and venue, it refers to the place where the arbitration takes place. So there are two aspects in this. One is seat. Seat is the arbitral law that governs the arbitration. Venue is the mere physical place where the proceedings are held. I will give you an example. For example, there is an arbitration between parties, one of which is in India. One is it, and this is applicable to both domestic as well as international commercial. We are discussing it in both contexts. So one is in India, one is in Singapore. So now they will have to decide. Suppose they decide that their seat of arbitration will be in Dubai and their venue will be in Netherlands. So venue means where the physical arbitration will take place, and seat, which is Dubai, means whose laws, arbitral laws, will apply. For example, if the seat is in India, this means that the Arbitration and Conciliation Act will apply to that particular arbitration. So identifying the seat is important for knowing which arbitral law applies and which court will have the jurisdiction in case the award is not acceptable.
So Bhavya, we can you are continuing with this. Yes, please. Yeah.
Sorry.
Please continue.
Vipinji, when you speak a little louder. We can't hear you at all.
Okay. I think there is a problem with my microphone. Just
In domestic arbitration, parties can choose one court in India to have exclusive supervisory jurisdiction over the arbitration proceedings, even if no part of the cause of action arose there. So in domestic, what they are trying to say is that suppose it's between Maharashtra and Delhi, so the party can choose whether they want the seat to be in Delhi or Maharashtra. Now we come to another important aspect, which is institutional versus ad hoc arbitration. Now arbitration can be through one institute or it can be ad hoc. Institutional means that the arbitration proceedings, they are administered under a institute. So the advantage of the institute would be they have their own set of rules to govern the arbitration. They have their own set of arbitrators from which the people can select and set the arbitrators. They have their own infrastructural setup. They have their own administrative support, secretarial support, and rooms for conducting the hearing. Ad hoc would mean which is not institutional. So in India, an important point I would like to mention is that 90% of arbitrations are ad hoc. So, institutional arbitrations, example is they are conducted by NSE, BSE, MCX. Then we have our own institutes such as ICA. Then there is a Mumbai Center of Arbitration. But for NSC and BSE, they have made it mandatory for all their disputes to go to arbitration as the first level of dispute resolution in India. So apart from that, most of the arbitrations, they are ad hoc arbitrations. So the arbitration agreement may provide for an ad hoc arbitration in the absence of an arbitration institute, and typically the ad hoc arbitrations are governed by the UNCITRAL arbitration rules. Now, who administers the award? So, who is the judge in this whole process? That is the arbitral tribunal. So, Section 10 and Section 11, they deal with the appointment of arbitrators. Section 10 states that parties are free to determine the number of arbitrators. It can be either 1, 3, 5, any odd number of arbitrators. It can be a person of any nationality. Then arbitrator has to be appointed within 30 days from the receipt of request from the other party. Fourth schedule of the Arbitration Act, it contains the model fees for the arbitrator. Section 12(5) and 5th and 7th schedule, it gives an exhaustive list of persons ineligible to be appointed as arbitrators. If there are any questions, Gupta ji, if will there any questions, should I address them side by side or?
Bhavya ji, you can take questions and you can take your own time. We can keep the meeting even up to 8:30, no issues. So timing is not a very much constraint for us.
Okay.
So it could be 8:30, 8:40, 8:45, anything.
Right. Okay. Because it's actually a big act, so I am just trying to.
Yes. That is why we invited you, and you are doing it very beautifully.
So now arbitral tribunal, how do they conduct a hearing? It can be by way of submissions, documentary submissions, and it can be even oral. Thereafter, an award is passed. What is an arbitral award? That is basically the judgment of the arbitral tribunal. In domestic arbitration, Section 28 states that the dispute will be decided according to the substantive law in force. The arbitral tribunal has to decide ex aequo et bono, which means in justice and in good faith, or as amiable compositor, meaning only disputes expressly authorized to be decided. Now, what are the main elements of the arbitral award? It has to be in writing and it has to be signed by the members of the arbitral tribunal. The award must be with reasons. So it should be a speaking order. In Harendra Mehta versus Mukesh Mehta, the Supreme Court noted the mandate in section 31(3) to note reasons for giving an award is not a formality, and it said that it is important to give the reason so that it guarantees a fair and genuine consideration by the arbitral tribunal. A domestic award is further subject to stamp duty in India. uh, the award, it cannot go beyond the contract. In the case of Steel Authority of India versus J.C. Buddharaja, it was held that arbitrator derives authority from the contract, and if he acts in manifest disregard of the contract, the award given by him would be arbitrary. A award has to be made by the majority of the tribunal. This goes without saying. The very purpose of having a sole arbitrator or an odd number of arbitrators, the main reason is that the award should be made by the majority so that there is no confusion. Now, what is the time limit for the arbitral awards? Section 29A1 states that an award shall be made within 12 months from the completion of the pleadings. The parties may, by consent, extend the period by another 6 months. So, as I had mentioned initially, the main purpose why people are preferring arbitration and why it is becoming so popular these days is the timelines which are given within the Arbitration Act. It is very conducive to go in for arbitration rather than the traditional litigation. Section 29B provides for fast track arbitration, which means that award has to be made within 6 months from the date the arbitral tribunal enters upon the reference. So, 12 months is the standard, which can be extended by another 6 months. Then there is a further provision for a fast track arbitration, which has to be passed within 6 months. Now, what is the form and content of the award? The final judgment of the arbitral tribunal, it has to be in writing. It has to be signed by the majority. The name of the members, date of reference, list of pleadings, etc. has to be there. It has to have reasons. The date and place of arbitration has to be there. Then it has to have directions on cost and interest. Now, what are costs? We'll see. Section 31A provides that the court or arbitral tribunal shall have discretion to determine whether the costs are payable by one party to another, amount of such costs, and when such costs are to be paid. So, as a general rule, the unsuccessful party, it bears the costs of arbitration. However, the arbitral tribunal can make an order with reasons on how to split the costs between the two parties. So we have to, again, just to take a step back, understand that this whole process of arbitration, it is driven by the parties. So the parties, they first of all have to decide whether they want to go in for arbitration. They have to document it. Then they have to decide on whom they want to keep as an arbitrator. Then the whole process is kind of driven by the parties. So it is quite flexible to that extent. Now, what are the costs of arbitration? Costs mean reasonable costs relating to fees and expenses of arbitrators, courts, and witnesses, legal fees and expenses, any administration fees, any other expenses incurred in connection with the arbitral award. Now, after the award is made, there are provisions for rectification of the award. The way we have in our income tax assessment and all, we can file for a rectification if there are any errors. Further, there is a recourse available against the arbitral award in case any of the parties has an objection to the award. So section 34, it provides for set aside of the arbitral award if an application is filed within 3 months from the date of receipt of award, only if certain conditions are satisfied. So there is a list of some 7 conditions which are given. Incapacity of a party, arbitration agreement not valid, improper notice, outside the scope of arbitration, procedural issues, against the public policy. Now, this is the most important aspect of this, against the public policy. Most of the awards are contested on the point of against the public policy of India. What is public policy of India? This in itself is a very big, lengthy discussion. So, public policy of India, if making of the award was induced by fraud or corruption, it is in contravention of the fundamental policy of Indian law. It is in contravention with the most basic notions of morality or justice. It shocks the conscience of the court. So it has to be so glaring that it shocks the conscience of the court. An award may be set aside by the court if it is vitiated by patent illegality. So these are the 7 conditions under which award can be set. Now, to conclude on the domestic arbitration, the important pillars of arbitration are consent. So it has to be agreed by the parties that they want to go in for arbitration. There is autonomy in the whole process. The parties, whether it be appointment of the arbitrators, selecting the venue, seat, or the institute, or the law, language, another procedural requirement, everything is driven by the parties. Confidentiality. Okay, so the Arbitration Act, it provides in India, it provides for the arbitration proceedings to be confidential in nature. Unlike our civil courts or any other courts, the proceedings are all public, so anybody can go and attend them and listen to them. However, the arbitration proceedings, they are confidential in nature. Finality of the decision, awards passed are final and binding and can be challenged only under certain circumstances, as we saw earlier. Now, I would briefly discuss about the international commercial arbitration. Section 2F. Any questions?
When can these
till
be
now?
challenged? I have a question. When can these awards be challenged?
So, Section 34 provides, who is asking the question? So Section 34 provides for set aside of these arbitral award. So by challenged means, we can file an application to the court within 3 months on these issues. The 7 issues which are outlined here in Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Yeah?
One more query.
Yeah.
If say there are 2 parties, one arbitrator is to be appointed by each party, and both of them, both the arbitrators have to appoint the third arbitrator. One party appoints his arbitrator, and the other party is trying to run away from the arbitration agreement. What will the party do?
No, so you are saying that one party doesn't want to go in for arbitration, even after the initial agreement is there.
Yeah, initial agreement is there, and the other party has appointed his own arbitrator and informed, also given the notice to the other party.
Right, right. So in that case, the arbitrator has to be appointed in consultation with both the parties.
In that case, Bhavya, can I reply to this? Bhavya?
Can I reply and then you can add on?
Sure.
Vipinji, I'll reply, then you can add on.
Sure.
Yeah. So, so I was saying that in case the party does not agree, see, everything, it has to be in consultation with each other. So if they do not agree, then there is a recourse to the normal litigation proceedings. Yeah, Vipinji, you wanted to add on?
Yes, then in that case, the application can be made to the court. Then the court comes into the picture. When they fail to appoint the arbitrator, then the party who has appointed the arbitrator and who has initiated the proceeding and who is interested in the arbitration, who has raised the dispute, will make an application to the court that the other party has failed to appoint the arbitrator, And in that case, court can appoint the arbitrator and the proceedings can go on.
Okay, thank you, Vipin.
I'll move forward. Yeah. Okay, so now we come to international commercial arbitration. Section 2F of the Arbitration Act, it defines international commercial arbitration as arbitration arising out of disputes where at least one party is a national or resident of a country other than India. It's a body corporate incorporated in a country other than India. It's a association of person whose management is in a country other than India, or the government of a foreign country. So, simply speaking, one of the parties is a foreigner. Now, in the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, we have Part 2, which deals with enforcement of foreign awards. So, Chapter 1 of that, it deals with the enforcement of New York Convention awards. So New York, there are two conventions, New York Convention and Geneva Convention. So New York Convention is the most relevant one currently. It is the more latest one as well. It was signed in 1960. So it is more relevant as it deals with foreign awards delivered by the signatory territories to the New York Convention, which have reciprocity with India. So approximately there are 48 countries as of date which have signed this with India. Chapter 2, it deals with enforcement of Geneva Convention awards. It is now more academic in nature as it deals with foreign awards delivered under the Geneva Convention, which is kind of redundant now. Most nations across the world, they follow the New York Convention. So, just to summarize the discussion which we are going to have now, what is international commercial arbitration? Like we discussed, a seat and venue earlier. So, in case the seat, I'll just touch upon this again because this is an important aspect of the arbitration. Seat is the juridical place of arbitration which decides and determines supervisory court as to arbitration tribunal. Venue is the place where the actual arbitration takes place. Commercial arbitration, the seat can be India, the seat can be outside India. Okay, so when the seat is India, then the part 1 can apply. Part 1 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act can apply to it. When the seat is outside India, then the award will be as per the New York Convention or the Geneva Convention, and then it will have to be enforced in India as per Part 2 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Now the definitional form of arbitration agreement. So this is similar to what we had discussed earlier. The arbitration agreement has to be an agreement in writing between the parties in respect of a defined legal relationship. And it can be a part of the main contract or in the form of a separate agreement. Okay. Now, what are the forms of arbitrations? As we discussed earlier, we have institutional arbitration and we have ad hoc. Across the world, institutional arbitration is more preferred mode of arbitration than the ad hoc arbitration. Whereas in India, it is more ad hoc arbitration currently. There are different ways of arbitration as well, which is briefly touch upon. MEDAR. MEDAR means mediation, arbitration, arbitration, mediation, arbitration, conciliation, mediation, arbitration. So these are different forms of alternate dispute resolutions which are becoming very popular these days. So in this, the mediator and the arbitrator, they hear the parties' presentations together, but the mediator then proceeds to attempt to settle the dispute without the arbitrator. So arbitrator is only called back in to enter a consent award or to serve as an arbitrator if the mediation fails. So preferred in MEDARB, first choice is mediation, but if it doesn't work out, then they resort to arbitration. So these are hybrid forms of alternate dispute resolutions. Institutional arbitration, there are a few well-known arbitration institutes around the world, such as the London Court of International Arbitration, Singapore International Arbitration Center, Dubai, Hong Kong, Permanent Court of Arbitration is there, ICC, International Chamber of Commerce is there. So here I would just like to mention that within these also there are sectoral arbitrations which are very famous. So for example, Stockholm Institute, it deals with shares arbitration. It is very famous. Investment arbitrations. Then there are maritime sector arbitrations which have really picked up, and there are certain specified institutes which deal with only sector specific arbitrations. Okay, yeah. So now we come back to the Arbitration Act. So chapter 1 of part 2, it deals with New York Convention Awards, section 46 of the Act. It speaks as to when a foreign award is binding. Section 47 states as to what evidence the party applying for the enforcement of a foreign award should produce before the court. Section 48, it states as to the conditions for enforcement of the foreign award. And section 49, it states if the court is satisfied that a foreign award is enforceable under this chapter or not. So the conditions for enforcement of a foreign award. Refused on the ground that it is contrary to public policy if such enforcement would be contrary to fundamental policy of Indian law or the interests of India or justice or morality. There are two prerequisites for enforcement of the foreign awards under the New York Convention. They are, the country must be a signatory to the New York Convention. As I had mentioned earlier, there are some 48 countries with which India is a signatory, which are signatory to New York Convention. So India will ratify only those awards whose seat is in those 48 countries. Other awards will not be recognized in India. Second, the award shall be made in the territory of another contracting state, which is a reciprocating territory and notified as such by the central government. So, primarily, international commercial arbitration, just to summarize, all the principles related to seat and venue, the arbitrability, all about the agreement, the arbitration agreement would be similar to what we've discussed in the domestic arbitration. And if the seat is in India, then the part 1 of the arbitration and conciliation award will apply. If the seat is outside India, then part 2, which involves enforcement of the foreign arbitration awards, will apply to the award. With that, I end my presentation.
भव्या जी, एक पॉइंट था, जैसे अभी ये सिंगापुर वाला सिस्टम था अमेजोन का फ्यूचर रिटेल का, तो इनको तो मतलब फिर आर्बिट्रेशन का तो फायदा ही नहीं होगा, गवर्नमेंट ने पूरा चेंज ही कर दिया, तो आर्बिट्रेशन का जैसे एनफोर्स नहीं होगा इंडिया में। तो
I just stop sharing 1 second. हाँ जी, कौन पूछ रहे हैं क्वेश्चन? श्याम किशन।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी मैम, ये
हाँ,
था
आपने क्या
अमेजोन,
बोला? एक
मेरा
बार
क्वेरी ये था जी, अमेजोन का भी सिंगापुर सेंटर पे हुआ कि उन्होंने आर्बिट्रेशन में केस डाला हुआ था फ्यूचर रिटेल वाले में, तो उसके बाद ये एनफोर्स ही नहीं हो पाया इंडिया में, तो उन्होंने कहा गवर्नमेंट ने चेंज ही कर दी पॉलिसी, तो मतलब पर्पस ही क्या हुआ फिर आर्बिट्रेशन का?
तो एक्चुअली अभी सिंगापुर वाला जो है, सो इसमें
और वैसे भी श्याम जी मेरे हिसाब से सिलेबस में है, हम सिलेबस की बात करें तो ज्यादा बेटर
आई
है,
थिंक हाँ एग्जैक्टली
है ना?
ठीक है सर, ठीक है सर।
और ऐसा है कुछ क्वेश्चंस चैट बॉक्स में भी है, तो भव्या जी प्लीज उनको भी देख लीजिए।
वैसे
चैट
तो मैंने रिप्लाई कर दिया सर।
अच्छा जी, ओके जी, ओके, ठीक है जी। तो विपिन जी प्लीज कैरी ऑन।
तो अगर इस पे मतलब आई थिंक एक ओवरव्यू भव्या ने बहुत अच्छे से वेल एक्सप्लेन कर दिया। तो अगर थोड़ा सा इसको और मैं एलोबरेट करूं, लेट अस डिस्कस ऑन दिस पार्ट
हाँ
आल्सो
बिल्कुल
ओनली
बिल्कुल
फर्स्ट।
बिल्कुल, हाँ जी हाँ
तो
जी।
अभी हमने जैसे देखा कि भाई एक हो गया हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गया, जो हमारा मेन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है ना, तो मेन गवर्निंग लॉ जिससे डिस्प्यूट अराइज हो रहा है। ओके, so we have a any kind of an agreement where there may be a dispute, that is a business agreement, let us understand. So arbitration, as we understand, mostly it is related to the commercial side of it. So arbitration generally we won't find with the in our personal relationship, there is no arbitration, there we have conciliation or mediation kind of a thing. तो एक तो मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गया, मेन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, देन वी हैव आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट विच इज एसेंशियल, इट हैज टू बी इन राइटिंग। सो now we have one, what arbitration agreement can have, it can have the process also, how many number of arbitrator will be there, how the arbitration proceedings will go on, and where the what will be the governing law of the arbitration. So in case आज क्या है, सिंगापुर एक पूरा हब बना हुआ है arbitration का, it is an international hub. तो आज बहुत सारी मतलब आज क्या हो सकता है, इंडिया की दो पार्टियां जाके सिंगापुर को एक सीट डिसाइड कर सकती हैं, एंड देन देयर इट विल बी मैटर विल बी डिसाइडेड, एंड देन the substantive law will be of that country where this is the seat has been decided. But contract, as far as the contract is concerned, because we have selected the अब जब वो सिंगापुर कोर्ट देखेगा कि भाई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हिसाब से डिस्प्यूट क्या है, क्या ये आर्बिट्रेबल है, देन इट विल सी द इंडियन साइड ऑफ द लॉ, बट while deciding the matter they will go by the substantive and procedural law of the सिंगापुर. तो इसलिए सिंगापुर को चूज कर रहे हैं लोग, क्योंकि वहां पर इतना फास्ट है ये डिस्पोजल। इंडिया में तो क्या है, 6-6, 7-7, 8-8 साल लग जाते हैं डिस्प्यूट को आर्बिट्रेट करने में भी। तो प्लस मेरा एक हो सकता है, तीसरा साइड क्या हो सकती है कि मेरा आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट क्या कहता है। तो मेरा आर्बिट्रेशन के एक्ट के हिसाब से मैं लंदन को वो सिलेक्ट कर सकता हूँ आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट के हिसाब से, सिंगापुर को सीट सिलेक्ट कर सकता हूँ, एक सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए मेरे पास इंडियन लॉ हो सकता है। तो इस हिसाब से मेरे पास 3 कंट्री के लॉ हो सकते हैं जो मैं चूज कर रहा हूँ। So while drafting any arbitration agreement, we have to be very careful that we should not involve many countries. अभी जैसे ये क्या हुआ है, जो अगर हम वोडाफोन वाला केस देखेंगे, कितनी सारी कंट्रियां इन्वॉल्व हो गई हैं उसमें, and then ultimately they are not able to recover their dues. So एक तो ये पार्ट ये हो गया। Then arbitration agreement कहाँ डालना चाहिए? आज क्या हो गया कि wherever we find any agreement, we will find blindly will put arbitration, arbitration and arbitration. We have to find, by invoking the arbitration agreement, what we are doing, we are denying the civil courts to, we are closing our doors to approach the courts. So ultimately what we are doing, we are hiring a judge, and the judge can be judge maybe 1 or maybe 2 or 3. तो जैसे कि मतलब इंटरनेशनल में होता है कि they charge per sitting fees. So even they charge 6 lakh rupees per sitting, and in a day they do 3 sitting, before lunch, after lunch and after tea. So these kind of sitting across, और अगर दिन मतलब 3 आपने आर्बिट्रेटर चूज कर लिए तो 18 लाख रुपए पर डे, और 3 सिटिंग होगी तो 54 लाख रुपए पर डे आपने जज के लिए दे दिए जो आपने खुद हायर किया। So we have to be very careful कि किन केसेस में हमें आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट डालना है। blindly we should not put a arbitration clause, because जो छोटे से मैटर्स हैं हमारे, that can be easily taken care by our civil courts, like partnership, we should not have any kind of arbitration agreement there. But because क्या होता है, डिस्प्यूट जब कोर्ट में पहुंचता है तो कोर्ट कैन इजीली सी कि भाई इसमें क्या वैल्यू है। अगर मुझे लगता है कि $multi-billion कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है मेरा, then there I need, the time is a factor. I cannot let that my business suffer because of this litigation. There surely I can have arbitration agreement, but in every small amount of cases, like somebody say कि we can have it more than 10 crore or 50 crore, whatever value we decide. So we have to understand from that perspective also. So this is what arbitration was there. So let us move to the conciliation. So मैं एक बार स्क्रीन शेयर करता हूँ अपनी। So conciliation is a part and parcel of Arbitration Act. Arbitration and Conciliation Act, it is called 1996. So I have mentioned journey from dispute to amicable resolution. So let us move to the next slide. I will move my slides. So what is conciliation? Conciliation is a confidential, voluntary, and private dispute resolution process in which a neutral person helps the parties to reach a negotiated settlement. So I will again read it out. Conciliation is a confidential process. Arbitration is also a confidential process. But conciliation is confidential from another perspective also, because in conciliation, the conciliator can meet the parties separately to get out the more information which they don't want to share with the in front of other party. But in arbitration, arbitrator cannot meet the parties separately. He has to meet at a common platform, and whatever is being discussed there in the conciliation proceedings cannot be disclosed outside the conciliation process or conciliation proceedings, and it is not admissible as a evidence in any court of law. And then it is a voluntary process. So unless parties agree in writing, so what happens in arbitration, we have to have an arbitration agreement beforehand. But in conciliation, this can be done at any point of time. Like court may also say, ki, are you ready to conciliate? In case the party decide, they will draw a written consent kind of agreement, and then they will submit themselves for conciliation. So they have to first agree for the conciliation. But in arbitration, in case there is an arbitration agreement, then the other party can force the other party to first arbitrate before going to the court. And it is a private dispute resolution process. So it is a private in the sense both the parties or the parties to the dispute have decided that we will keep it in this way. We don't want to take our dispute to the court, and we want to conciliate in the presence of the person to whom we have selected, or we have trust. So it is a question of the person whom you have selected, who is your trustworthy, and then you want that person to decide on your behalf. And it is a resolution process. It is not a judgmental process. In this process, what the conciliator does, he tries to find out the solution which is workable for both the parties, or in case there are many parties, then for all the parties. So it is not something. It is not related to the right and liabilities of the party. He tries to find out what works best in that kind of situation. So what happens whenever we have a dispute? What we try to do, we move to the court. We say, you decide on our behalf. Actually, you look at, in case you look deeper into it, business is being done by the people, the parties. And in case there is a dispute, who best can decide that dispute apart from the parties themselves? Not the court or not the third person. But when you reach neither the arbitrator nor the court, but when you reach a person whom you trust and who involves both the parties, then that person tries to see what are your interests in that entire process of dispute. So he tries to find out your interests, and then he tries to give you the solution. And in which a neutral person has to be a neutral person. He should not be aligned with any party. He should not be tilted towards any party. He has to work in an unbiased manner. And he helps the parties to reach a negotiated settlement. The word is negotiated settlement. So there is a word called bargain and there is a word called negotiation. How does the negotiation is different from bargain? In bargain तो हम रोज करते हैं, सब्जी वाले से भी करते हैं, कहीं शॉप पे जाते हैं वहां पर भी हम करते हैं. तो जब हम प्राइस और क्वांटिटी के बारे में बात कर रहे होते हैं तो वो बार्गेन होता है. बट जब हम उसमें वैल्यू एनहांसमेंट कर रहे होते हैं कुछ, कि हम उसमें खाली प्राइस और क्वांटिटी के बारे में नहीं बात करके हम उसमें कुछ और वैल्यू एडिशन कर रहे होते हैं, तो वो नेगोशिएशन होता है. सो हियर द कंसिलिएटर सीज, ही सीज बियॉन्ड द डिस्प्यूट. अभी ये तो डिस्प्यूट क्या है? डिस्प्यूट अराइजेस फ्रॉम सम कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दैट इज गोइंग ऑन. तो जब वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इतना बड़ा हो जाता है, जैसे हम घर में भी देखते हैं कि आप कई बार छोटी सी बात घर में बोलते हो, वो इतना बड़ा बवाल बच जाता है, तो आप कहते हैं मैंने तो इतना सा कुछ कहा था. बोलते नहीं आज नहीं, आपने तो आप लास्ट 2 साल से ऐसे से बोलते आ रहे हो. तो वो क्या था? वो सारा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की शेप में चला रहा था. ऐसे ही बिजनेस में एक छोटा सा कुछ हुआ, देन अल्टीमेटली वो बहुत सारे धीरे धीरे, कभी आपने किसी की पेमेंट लेट कर दी, कभी कुछ हुआ, उसमें थोड़ा सा टाइम मांगा, आपने डिले किया, आपने पेनल्टी काट ली उसकी. तो ऑल दोस थिंग्स गेट accumulated within that person's mind, and then anytime you default on something and he will raise a dispute कि भाई आपने आज ये किया, मैं काम छोड़ रहा हूँ. So ultimately What he does, he tries to find out what was the background of arising this dispute. This is the function of a conciliator. So we are moving to the next slide. So we are going to the legal aspect of conciliation. Conciliation is governed by part 3. So Bhavya has talked about part 1 and part 2 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. I am talking about the part 3. Part 4 is about the miscellaneous provisions. So we will not be discussing the part 4. You can read out in the act itself. So conciliation is governed by part 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. So we would be referring this act and here in after as act. But there are only 21 sections from 61 to 81 which covers conciliation. Apart from Arbitration and Conciliation Act, Section 89 of Civil Procedure Code 1908 provides that where court feel that there exists an element of possible settlement, then court may refer the matter for arbitration, mediation, conciliation, लोक अदालत. कोर्ट के पास वाइड पावर्स हैं ये कि कोर्ट को कभी भी लगता है कि अगर कोई सेटलमेंट हो सकती है तो कोर्ट रेफर कर देगा मैटर कंसिलिएशन के लिए. So there are forums at every district court, at every high court where conciliation and mediation happens. So this power is being widely used nowadays by the courts. I am being in touch of many mediators and conciliators. They say कभी बहुत बार कोर्ट से डायरेक्ट फोन आ जाता है कि इस तरह का बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मैटर है, वी आर रेफरिंग इट टू यू, यू प्लीज हैंडल. So section 89 of Civil Procedure Code is there. Then we have section 30 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act itself provides that during arbitration proceedings, आर्बिट्रेशन चल रहा है, आर्बिट्रेटर को लगता है कि भाई अभी पार्टी उस लेवल पे पहुंच गई है, पहले तो बात ही नहीं हो रही थी, अब ये दोनों आपस में लग रहा है इनको यार कि आपस में सेटल कर सकते हैं. तो आर्बिट्रेटर कैन से कि वुड यू लाइक टू डू कंसिलिएशन और मीडिएशन. इन केस पार्टीज एग्री देन दे कैन कंसिलिएट, and in case they reach a settlement, then arbitrator will finalize his award based on that settlement, and it will be settled arbitration award itself in the on the agreed terms. So it will have the force of arbitration award but on the agreed terms. So there is a provision there. And then section 442 of the Companies Act also makes provision for resolution of matters in any proceedings. तो अगर कोई प्रोसीडिंग एनसीएलटी में चल रही है, एनसीएलटी में चल रही है या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास चल रही है, then section 442 of the Companies Act provides that it may be referred to through to conciliation. Companies Mediation and Conciliation Rule 2016 have been framed for this purpose. So I have not covered other legislation like Consumer Protection Act, Industrial Dispute Act. So there are other acts also where there are provisions. So I have just restricted it to these 3-4 which are relevant for you. So as Bhavya has already discussed that in case of Booz, Allen and Hamilton versus SBI Finance, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने प्रिंसिपल लेट डाउन किए थे कि कौन से मैटर्स आर्बिट्रेट किए जा सकते हैं, कौन से नहीं किए जा सकते. सो एज आई डिस्कस अर्लियर आल्सो, those matters which are in rem which affect the public at large cannot be referred for arbitration, and similarly they cannot be referred for conciliation also, like serious crimes like rape, murder, etc., insolvency and writing up proceedings, testamentary will, etc., they cannot be referred to because they affect the parties who are not part of these conciliation proceedings. So you cannot decide on behalf of others. जैसे कि mortgage में हुआ, mortgage में earlier it was being taken that it is between the two parties, but later on courts came to know that no, mortgage is affects the rights and liabilities of the parties at large, and so it cannot be arbitrated upon. But all other matters like commercial disputes, industrial dispute, consumer dispute, matrimonial dispute, property dispute, IPR dispute, family dispute, etc., these which does not affect the rights and liabilities of third parties can be conciliated upon. Like arbitration, the Arbitration Act covers both domestic and international dispute in the context of conciliation. International conciliation is confined only to disputes of commercial nature. So arbitration इंडिया में अदर देन कमर्शियल डिस्प्यूट का कुछ का हो सकता है, लेकिन इन केस ऑफ इंटरनेशनल it can be only related to the commercial matters, which can be only those awards can be imposed in India which are having commercial nature. So what is the conciliation process? So there is a process and the conciliation has to happen as per that process. All the parties to the dispute must agree in writing for referring the dispute for the conciliation, which I already discussed. नंबर ऑफ कंसिलिएटर कैन बी 1, 2 और 3, जनरली 3 से ज्यादा नहीं होते हैं, बट लॉ परमिट्स कि आप 10 भी रखिए, 11 भी रखिए। आर्बिट्रेशन में ऑड नंबर होने चाहिए, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, बट यहाँ पर 1 भी हो सकता है, 2 भी हो सकते हैं, 3 भी हो सकते हैं। यहाँ ऑड और इवन का चक्कर नहीं है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर उसको कंसिलेटर को कोई अवार्ड पास नहीं करना है। अवार्ड में तो क्या होता है कि भाई अगर कल को आपका इट में बी लाइक यूनानिमस डिसीजन नहीं है, तो देर में भी 2 पर्सन हु में बी वांटिंग कि इस तरह से वो 2 इस साइड हो जाएंगे, तो अवार्ड कौन पास करेगा? दोनों एक अलग अलग हो गए, देयर इज नो कंसेंसस। सो इन दैट केस यू हैव टू हैव अ पर्सन हु लाइक 2 एक जगह हो गए, एक जगह एक जना एक हो गया, तो एक मेजोरिटी डिसीजन हो गया वहां पर। बट यहाँ पर कोई डिसीजन तो है नहीं, इसलिए 1, 2 और 3 में कोई इशू नहीं है कि ओड हो कि इवन नंबर हो। Conciliator shall assist the parties in an independent and impartial manner in their attempt to reach an amicable settlement of the dispute. So he will assist the parties. Independence is a very core of the entire Conciliation and Arbitration Act. तो इसके अगर किसी भी स्टेज पे ये पता लगता है पार्टीज को या कोर्ट को, इन केस दे रीच द कोर्ट, कि यहाँ पर इंडिपेंडेंस नहीं थी, या दो फैक्टर्स वर लाइक, एक केस मैंने जैसे डिस्कस किया था कि अगर किसी लाइक आर्बिट्रेटर की मैरिज सिस्टर ने किसी सब्सिडरी कंपनी में किसी जिसका वो आर्बिट्रेटर है कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दी ड्यूरिंग आर्बिट्रेशन प्रोसीडिंग, एंड उसको पता भी नहीं है कि ऐसी कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दी, and the decision, the award has been passed by the arbitrator. Now later on one of the parties comes to know about it, and then they say you have not disclosed this fact to us while you were arbitrating upon. It is one of the disqualification. So in case they challenge this award on the basis of that disqualification, the court will not listen to the arbitrator or the parties that no, he was not aware, she was a married sister, and how can he come to know कि भाई उसने जब उसको बताया ही नहीं. So all those factors will not come into play, and the arbitration award will be set aside. So independence and impartiality is of paramount importance. Conciliator is not bound by the CPC and the Indian Evidence Act. तो एक्चुअल में आर्बिट्रेशन और कंसिलिएशन का पर्पज यही था कि इसको लीगलिटी की साइड में ना ले जाके, अदरवाइज तो कोर्ट है ये सब अगर देखना है तो उसको क्या करना है, उसको नेचुरल जस्टिस फॉलो करना है, उसको पेशेंट हियरिंग देनी है, अपॉर्चुनिटीज देनी है पार्टीज को, है ना, उसको बहुत ज्यादा अगर वो, लेकिन हमने क्या करा है, हमने इंडिया में खासकर हमने इसको पूरी लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स बना दिया आर्बिट्रेशन को, नॉट इन द कंसिलिएशन बट आर्बिट्रेशन को हमने पूरा लीगल एक तरह की मिनी कोर्ट बना दिया है, जहाँ पर पूरा सारे सबमिशन होते हैं, एविडेंसेस दिए जाते हैं, पूरा सब कुछ किया जाता है. देन इन दैट केस अल्टीमेटली वी आल्सो सबमिट आवरसेल्फ फॉर there may be many opportunities for the other party who against whom that award has been passed to challenge the award on any of the pretexts, because so many things are being done in a legal way. But in case that is not being done in a legal way, only the basic principles of natural justice are being followed by the arbitrator, then arbitration award cannot be set aside on flimsy grounds. The conciliator is expected to be guided by the principles of objectivity. He has to act in an objective manner. Fairness, he has to be fair with both the parties, and he has to do justice. Conciliator controls the process and parties controls the outcome. It is very important. Conciliator is not the judge. He is not deciding on behalf of any of the parties. So he will just control the entire process. कब किससे बात करनी है, ज्वाइंट सेशन करना है कि इंडिविजुअल सेशन करना है पार्टीज के साथ, उनको क्या सजेशन देनी है, तो ही इज जस्ट कंट्रोलिंग द प्रोसेस, ही इज एक्सप्लोरिंग, ही इज गेटिंग आउट द ऑप्शंस, he is trying to get more and more options, trying to find out how that suits both the parties, how they will be able to reach a settlement. And but ultimately it is in the hands of the party whether they want to settle or not to settle. Based on the facts of the case, conciliator may give suggestions to the parties for resolving their dispute. अब यहाँ पर मीडिएशन और कंसिलिएशन में एक डिफरेंस आ जाता है. एक्चुअल में वर्ड ओवर अगर हम देखें, मोस्ट ऑफ द कंट्रीज दे यूज द वर्ड मीडिएशन एंड कंसिलिएशन. मीडिएशन वर्ड यूज होता है, कंसिलिएशन नहीं यूज होता है, बट इंडिया में हमने कंसिलिएशन वर्ड डाला. तो अगर हम थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस यहाँ देखें तो मीडिएशन और कंसिलिएशन में क्या डिफरेंस बताया जाता है कि मीडिएशन में mediator cannot give any kind of suggestion to the parties, but in conciliation which Act provides that conciliator can give suggestions to the parties कि भी मुझे लगता है इन options के basis पे आप ये कर लीजिए, तो आपके लिए ये ठीक रहेगा। ऑल्दो अल्टीमेटली पार्टीज को डिसाइड खुद करना है। तो अगर जैसे देयर इज एग्जांपल ऑफ ऑरेंज which is being given in every mediation and conciliation kind of a training session. So अगर एक ऑरेंज के ऊपर 3 लोग लड़ रहे हैं, एक माँ के 3 बेटे हैं, तीनों को एक ऑरेंज है, घर में एक ही ऑरेंज है और तीनों को चाहिए वो ऑरेंज, तीनों बेटों को। तो अल्टीमेटली अगर आप कोर्ट में जाते हैं या आर्बिट्रेशन में जाते हैं तो हर तीनों बेटा अपना अपना फैक्ट्स रखेगा कि ये ऑरेंज मुझे ही मिलना चाहिए बिकॉज ऑफ दीज रीजंस। So the court and arbitrator will decide based on the facts whose legal right is on that orange. But when you reach to a mediator or a conciliator, he will ask why you need this orange. So once he asks this question why, so what will happen? One of the son says कि भी मुझे तो उसकी स्किन चाहिए, मुझे तो ना उसका कोई मेडिसिन बनानी है, उसका जूस जो होता है या उसका मुझे कुछ शो पीस बनाना है, समथिंग लाइक दैट, तो मुझे उसकी स्किन चाहिए, छिलका चाहिए मुझे। द अदर सन सेज मुझे उसका पल्प चाहिए, मुझे जूस निकालना है। तीसरा बेटा कहता है कि मुझे उसके सीड्स चाहिए, सीड्स हैव सम मेडिसिनल प्रॉपर्टीज। सो नाउ ऑल थ्री हैव देयर डिफरेंट इंटरेस्ट दैट कैन बी डिवाइडेड एज पर देयर रिक्वायरमेंट टू ऑल थ्री ऑफ the son. Now you try to see it from that perspective when we talked about negotiation and bargaining. Bargaining में क्या होता है कि वो एक के पास चला जाता है या ये होता है कि भाई किसका ज्यादा राइट है उसको मिल गया। बट यहाँ नेगोशिएशन में हमने क्या किया, नेगोशिएशन में हमने उसको एनलार्ज कर दिया, उसी को 3 हिस्सों में तोड़ के नहीं बांटा, एज पर देयर रिक्वायरमेंट बांट दिया वो। So it is in negotiation. Now let us see what happens when we are talking about conciliation. Conciliator in this case will say कि भाई ऑरेंज के 3, अब आपको तीनों को पता है कि क्यों चाहिए, तो इसमें से मैं क्या करता हूँ, इसमें से आपको ये दे देते हैं, एक को सीड दे देते हैं, एक को पल्प दे देते हैं और एक को स्किन दे देते हैं। This is what conciliator will do, but the mediator will not say like that. Mediator will say, now you know, you tell what you want to do with this orange now. So mediator is not giving any suggestion. He is asking again when he knows what kind of solution is there in front of him. He will still ask the parties what you want. Then the parties will say, we will take our required portion of the orange and we are happy. So he will draw the settlement agreement. So this is the basic difference between mediation and conciliation. So conciliation process may result into no settlement, partial settlement or full settlement of the dispute. तो क्या हो सकता है, कंसिलिएशन में सबने डिस्कस किया, खूब सेशन हुए, तो कोई सेटलमेंट नहीं हुई, वेल एंड गुड, पार्शियल सेटलमेंट हो गई क्योंकि नहीं 4 पॉइंट थे डिस्प्यूट के, इसमें से 2 सेटल कर रहे हैं, इसके लिए हम कोर्ट में नहीं जाएंगे, बट 2 के लिए आई एम हैविंग माय राइट, आई कैन गो बैक टू द कोर्ट, सो दैट कैन बी डन, और देयर मे बी अ फुल सेटलमेंट ऑफ द डिस्प्यूट। इफ सेटलमेंट इज रीच्ड देन ए सेटलमेंट एग्रीमेंट इज ड्रॉन इन राइटिंग। अब ये सेटलमेंट एग्रीमेंट जब ड्रॉ किया जाता है, वी हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल वेदर इट इज लीगल। तो हर एस्पेक्ट से देखना पड़ता है कि भाई सेटलमेंट एग्रीमेंट में हम उस टाइम तो होता है कि रश आज बस चलो सब एग्री हो गए, फटाफट एग्रीमेंट साइन करो। मान लो कोई डिस्प्यूट है कि भाई रेंट के ऊपर है या किसी पेमेंट के ऊपर है, तो होगा कि हाँ ये पार्टी इसको इतना पैसा देगी, भाई देगी कैसे देगी, क्या इंस्टॉलमेंट में देगी, 1 टाइम में देगी, किस मेथड से देगी, all those things need to be decided at that point of time so that it should not again lead into another kind of a dispute. Whether this kind of payment method that has been decided, we all are chartered accountants, somebody say 1 crore रुपया मैं कैश में दूंगा, so can it be sustained in law? Tomorrow can that kind of a legal agreement be taken into the court कि इसको आप ऐड कर दीजिए? No, then it is being prohibited. You cannot deal more than 2 lakh rupees in cash. So ultimately what will happen, so we have to see from the practical point of view, from the legal point of view also the settlement. So most of the settlement, in case they are not being taken care at the settlement stage, agreement stage, they fall down. And उस टाइम क्या होता है, सारी पार्टीज के इंटरेस्ट को प्रायोरिटाइज करना पड़ता है कि भाई कौन सी पार्टी को क्या चाहिए, क्या डिस्कस हुआ था, कोई कहती नहीं ये वाला नहीं हुआ था। तो इट इज ए प्रोसेस when most of the time is being given so that it should not again lead to another kind of dispute. Settlement agreement has the same status as that of an arbitration award on agreed terms. We discussed about section 30 earlier, when arbitrator can refer the matter for conciliation. So at that time also it is in the shape of an arbitration award. But in this case, it will not be passed as an arbitration award, but it will be having the same force as of an arbitration award on agreed terms, and it is enforceable as a decree of the court. तो क्या होगा कि भाई अगर हम एक आर्बिट्रेशन अवार्ड है मेरे पास या कंसिलिएशन एग्रीमेंट है, तो मैं कोर्ट में उसको सीधा जाऊंगा कि इसका एग्जीक्यूशन कर दीजिए, तो मैं एग्जीक्यूशन पर्पज के लिए जाऊंगा, ठीक है। तो उस दैट इज executable as a decree of a court under CPC, so that can be directly done. During conciliation proceedings, any arbitration or judicial proceedings can't be initiated in respect of same dispute except for preserving the rights of the party. अगर कंसिलिएशन प्रोसीडिंग्स चल रही हैं तो कोई भी आर्बिट्रेशन या जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग्स इनिशिएट नहीं कर सकती पार्टी डिस्प्यूट को, एक्सेप्ट जहां पर किसी पार्टी को लगता है कि अगर ये कंसिलिएशन प्रोसीडिंग्स के दौरान मेरा कोई ऐसा राइट है जो हैम्पर हो जाएगा, इन दैट केस दे मे अप्रोच फॉर सम काइंड ऑफ ए रिलीफ ड्यूरिंग दैट आर, कि भाई ये इसको एक स्टे दे दीजिए, प्रॉपर्टी नहीं बेचेगा इस पीरियड में, या ये नहीं करेगा, तो दैट पर्पस फॉर दैट पर्पस दे कैन अप्रोच द कोर्ट. Otherwise, there cannot be any court proceedings that can be initiated during conciliation process. Furthermore, in case the question arises whether arbitrator can act as a conciliator, no, because he has to be independent and impartial. He is not privy to the information which is not being given to him by the parties. So he has to get the information from the parties. But during arbitration, he may have so many information, so much of document in front of him. So what happens? It may give him an biased व्यू कि भाई उसने वहां पर तो मुझे ये डॉक्यूमेंट दिया था, तो दैट मे फेल. सिमिलरली कंसिलेटर कैन नॉट एक्ट एज ए आर्बिट्रेटर लेटर ऑन, सो दे हैव टू बी independent person, they cannot play both the roles. So now coming to the last part of our discussion, what is the difference between arbitration and conciliation? Although we have discussed during our discussion, but let us discuss in a brief. Arbitration, as we discussed, it is a quasi-judicial adjudicatory process. तो arbitration में हमने जज को हायर किया, अपने जिसको हमें लगा कि हमारा इंटरेस्ट सर्व करेगा, not our interest in that sense, मतलब he will be person who knows the business, so like a chartered accountant or a civil engineer who knows our business well and whom both the parties have trust. So it is a quasi-judicial proceedings है, because act is there, we support this kind of proceeding. एंड एडजुडिकेशन होगा, एक जजमेंट आ गई, इसमें अवार्ड पास होगा. इन कंसिलिएशन एन असिस्टेड नेगोशिएशन प्रोसेस एंड नॉट एन एडजुडिकेटरी प्रोसेस. So ultimately what is happening in conciliation, both the parties are negotiating there, and what the conciliator is doing, he is assisting them in reaching a settlement. He is not doing that more than that. आउटसोर्सिंग द रेजोल्यूशन. तो आर्बिट्रेशन में हम क्या करते हैं, आउटसोर्स कर देते हैं अपने बिजनेस या अपने डिस्प्यूट के रेजोल्यूशन को एक थर्ड पार्टी को, जिसको हम आर्बिट्रेटर कहते हैं. इन कंसिलिएशन व्हाट वी डू, रेजोल्यूशन ऑफ ए डिस्प्यूट इज डिसाइडेड बाय द पार्टीज देमसेल्फ, कंसिलिएटर ओनली असिस्ट. Arbitration is an adversarial process in nature, as its focus is on determination of rights and liabilities of the parties. But conciliation is a process collaborative in nature, as it focuses on the present and the future. So ultimately what he says, अब जैसे IP dispute चल रहा है, कोई किसी ने कहा जी मेरे इस IP राइट का इसने वायलेशन करके इसने दूसरी मार्केट में ये प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर दिया है. So but after at the stage of conciliation, the conciliator may ask कि भाई now after 6 years since you are fighting for this or you are having this dispute, do you really think this kind of the IP for which you are fighting has that kind of a value in the market? Then they will realize, no, there are so many new products that has come in, and our product has not that much of a relevance for which we are fighting in legal battle and spending so much of time and energy and money. So they may say no. What we will do, let him operate in this market and we will operate in this market, and let him pay us this much of fees and we will continue our relationship. So ultimately conciliation and mediation helps the parties to continue the business relationship. Otherwise litigation or arbitration में क्या होता है, the winner also loses and the loser is a loser itself. तो ultimately वहाँ पर दोनों loser हो जाते हैं और यहाँ पर दोनों winner हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि उनकी relationship continue रहती है और ultimately settlement of the dispute is as per their own criteria, own resources. In case one of the parties says कि मैं 10 लाख रुपए दे सकती हूँ, तो उसको पता है कि मेरे पास 10 लाख रुपए हैं एंड मैं इतना देने के लिए मेरे को देना चाहिए और मुझे देना है. बट अगर कोर्ट कहता है कि आपको 50 लाख देने, तो he may go bankrupt and ultimately other party may also suffer because he may be the only sole supplier of that material to him, so his business may also suffer. So ultimately it is a collaborative process as it focuses on the present and the future of both the parties. Arbitration में personal appearance or active participation of parties is not always required, as their lawyer can represent. But in case of conciliation, willing and active participation by the party is the soul of conciliation. So even if we have counsel or lawyers assisting us in conciliation or mediation, unless the parties are themselves present for conciliation or mediation, the conciliation or mediation session cannot happen. But arbitration can happen without the presence of the parties. Arbitration award can be challenged on, but it can be challenged but on limited grounds. But conciliation agreement, because we have our own decided what kind of settlement we are reaching, so there cannot be any reason to challenge that settlement agreement, and therefore it is not appealable, except for some cases like it was done by coercion or fraud or something like that. Apart from those things, it is not challengeable and it is not appealable. This was from my side. Any questions on this?
Thank you very much, CA Vipin Agarwal ji and Bhavya Bansal ji. It was really a wonderful session. And actually, normally I take almost all the sessions.
Okay.
But I thought of taking this as well. But then I saw the act and I thought it fit to invite somebody who is an expert in this. Actually, because unless this subject is so deep,
Yes,
that
sir.
unless you have a fair idea of what the act is, it cannot be handled. But it was a beautiful presentation,
Thank you.
Bhavya
Thank you.
Bansalji and yours. It reflects a practical approach, and in a very short and concise manner, you have explained the things very beautifully.
So it is a learning
Thank you.
experience for all of us, because abhi not related to the topic, but yes, in case you be aware of that mediation is coming up in a big way. अभी तक इंडिया के पास मीडिएशन लॉ नहीं है, लेकिन क्या हुआ है कि सिंगापुर कन्वेंशन हुई है. सिंगापुर में समवेयर इन अगस्त और सितंबर देयर वाज अ मीडिएशन से रिलेटेड सिंगापुर कन्वेंशन हुआ, जिसमें इंडिया इज ए सिग्नेटरी फॉर सिंगापुर कन्वेंशन. So there are around 61 countries who have signed the Singapore Convention, and India is one of those signatories. And according to that convention, once you sign any convention, then you have to ratify it also. So what is the procedure of ratifying? We have to pass an act on that. So earlier also, the Supreme Court, in the case of while this Ayodhya matter went on for mediation, in case I think all of them must be aware that it was being referred by Supreme Court for mediation, and a panel of 3 mediators was being appointed. Since then, Supreme Court is asking, especially our present Chief Justice of India, Mr. Borde, he asked the government of India to come up with a mediation law, and even asked the Bar Council of India to introduce a mandatory syllabus of 45 hours or something for the law students, and it has already been issued by the Bar Council of India. So it is a mandatory subject now for LLB students. So it was expected that this mediation law will come either through a ordinance in this during this year, or most probably it has to come in the winter session. So there will be a mediation law. So that may change the entire Arbitration and Conciliation Act. It is being expected that instead of conciliation, we will have mediation replacing the conciliation. So conciliation क्या है, आज ज़्यादा हो नहीं रहा है conciliation इंडिया में, मीडिएशन ज्यादा होता है. तो मीडिएशन एक्चुअल में नॉट इन दैट सेंस जहां पर भी स्टैट्यूटरी प्रोविजंस हैं मीडिएशन के, बट इट इज कमिंग अप इन ए वेरी वेरी बिग वे. तो मीडिएशन की ट्रेनिंग्स हो रही हैं 40 घंटे की, के समबडी वांट्स टू अटेंड, सो देयर इज अ 40 आवर ट्रेनिंग दैट पीपल अटेंड टू. कुछ कह रहे थे गुप्ता जी?
विपिन जी, एक छोटी सी क्वेरी थी.
हाँ जी श्याम जी.
मैंने चैट बॉक्स में लिखा था, आर्बिट्रल ट्रिब्यूनल बन गई, कंपनी आईबीसी में चली गई.
कंपनी आईबीसी में चली गई, ठीक है.
मॉरेटोरियम लग गया, सस्पेंड हो गई सारी प्रोसीडिंग्स,
ठीक है.
अब कंपनी चली गई लिक्विडेशन में उसके बाद।
ठीक है,
तो अब ये आर्बिट्रल ट्रिब्यूनल जो है प्रोसीडिंग रिज्यूम हो जाएंगी, क्योंकि आरपी की ड्यूटीज में भी आता है कि विल प्रेजेंट बिफोर कोर्ट्स आर्बिट्रेशन ट्रिब्यूनल। सेक्शन 14 जब तक लगा हुआ है तब तक
नहीं,
तो
बट मेरा थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे डिस्कनेक्ट है कि अगर आर्बिट्रेशन प्रोसीडिंग्स चल रही हैं तो आईबीसी प्रोसीडिंग्स कैन नॉट बी इनिशिएटेड
नहीं किसी और ने कर दी, कंपनी चली गई ना, मतलब
है।
भाई जिनके बीच में आर्बिट्रेशन प्रोसीडिंग चल रही है
नहीं
वो
नहीं,
करके
बीच में का
third
नहीं है
party-
ना सर, बीच में नहीं है ना फिर। ये जहां तक जब एक्ट ही प्रोवाइड करता है कि कोई भी और प्रोसीडिंग्स इनिशिएट ही नहीं की जा सकती
ये तो पुरानी चल रही है ना जी, तो रुक गई, सस्पेंड हो गई, खाली खाली
कौन सी
खत्म नहीं हुआ प्रोसीडिंग्स।
है,
प्रोसीडिंग्स खत्म नहीं हुई, सस्पेंड हुई केवल ड्यूरिंग
कौन सी वाली प्रोसीडिंग सस्पेंड हुई?
आर्बिट्रल की।
आर्बिट्रल प्रोसीडिंग सस्पेंड होने का कोई प्रोविजन मैंने मतलब मेरी नॉलेज में नहीं है सर।
ठीक है सर।
नहीं विपिन जी, वो एक्चुअली आईबीसी कोड में है, सेक्शन 14 है।
क्या
सेक्शन
सर?
14 ये कहता है कि जो भी सूट चल रहे हैं, जो आर्बिट्रेशन प्रोसीडिंग चल रही हैं,
हाँ सर।
उनके ऊपर मॉरेटोरियम लग जाएगा, और जब ये डिसीजन हो जाएगा भाई इस कंपनी को चलाना है या बंद करना है, उसके बाद में ये मॉरेटोरियम लिफ्ट हो जाएगा।
अच्छा, वो वाला आप प्रोसीजर कह रहे हो, ठीक है।
हाँ,
मतलब
ये
कि
उसकी बात कर।
ओके, बट सर मतलब आर्बिट्रेशन प्रोसीडिंग्स भी विदहेल्ड हो जाएंगी। आई एम नॉट, मतलब दैट हैज नॉट कम टू माय नॉलेज। बट यहाँ पर सर एक इम्पॉर्टेंट था, आई थिंक आईबीसी वर्सेस आर्बिट्रेशन के ऊपर एक केस लॉ है। आई थिंक इन केस वी हैव नॉट डिस्कस्ड एंड वी आर नॉट, देन इट इज बेटर दैट वी डिस्कस इंडस बायोटेक प्राइवेट लिमिटेड वर्सेस कोटक इंडिया वेंचर्स फंड।
हाँ, तो थोड़ा डिस्कस कर लें तो बहुत अच्छा है विपिन जी।
कर
हाँ।
लेता हूँ सर। So this is a case which was reported in June 2022, this year only. इसमें क्या हुआ कि एक इंडस बायोटेक में कोटक इंडिया वेंचर्स ने इन्वेस्टमेंट करी ऑफ ऑप्शनली कन्वर्टिबल रिडीमेबल प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स, जिसको इंडस बायोटेक ने इशू किया, और इनके बीच में एक एग्रीमेंट हुआ, इन्वेस्टमेंट एग्रीमेंट, एंड डिस्प्यूट अरोज बिटवीन द पार्टीज रिगार्डिंग द वैल्यूएशन ऑफ दीज redeemable preference shares when the same were sought to be converted to equity shares. These were convertible, so when the Kotak wanted to convert into shares, so a dispute arose regarding the timing. While the dispute was ongoing, Kotak sought to trigger the early redemption clause provided under the share subscription and shareholder agreement, pursuant to which the OCRPS, which we are calling short as optionally convertible redeemable preference share, को हम OCRPS बोल रहे हैं। तो जब ये OCRPS वर pursuant to which the OCRPS were issued, उसका एक एग्रीमेंट था, उसके में कोटक ने सेक्शन 7 के अंदर एप्लीकेशन फाइल कर दी आईबीसी में before NCLT. Before the application under section 7 could be decided by the NCLT, Indus had invoked the arbitration clause under the this triple SA agreement, subscription and shareholder agreement. So what happened? NCLT directed the parties to resolve their dispute by arbitration, thereby dismissing the application filed by the Kotak under section 7 of the IBC. तो श्याम जी, अगर आप जो आपका केस कह रहे थे, यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा कुछ डिफरेंट केस आ रहा था कि अगर आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट है बिटवीन पार्टीज और आर्बिट्रेशन एग्रीमेंट ट्रिगर कर दिया किसी ने, तो NCLT has not taken that, although I'm coming further to it. The NCLT held that dispute primarily revolved around valuation of OCRPS and the rights of Kotak under triple SA. Thus, the case was better suited for arbitration. Another reason given in support of its decision by the NCLT was that Indus was a solvent, debt-free and profitable company, and the admitting the application would push an otherwise solvent company into insolvency. तो जब हम इस डिसीजन को एनालाइज करते हैं, तो अब क्या अल्टीमेटली जो इन्वेस्टमेंट थी इसकी कंपनी की, कोटक की, तो NCLT ने उसका नेचर नहीं देखा कि भाई क्या whether this kind of investment or qualifies for filing an application, whether they may qualify them to be a financial creditor, although the judgment was being given that it should not, that they will not invoke section 7, but whether this whether preference share is a financial debt. So this question was not being looked into by the NCLT. To file an application under CIP, as we all know, section 7 of the IPC, the applicant must be a financial creditor. आदित्य प्रकाश एंटरटेनमेंट प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के केस में बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने डिसाइड किया था the shareholders of redeemable preference shares of a company do not become creditors of the company in case their shares are not redeemed by the company at the appropriate time. If they do not become the creditors of the company, they cannot apply for winding up of the company under section 433E of the Companies Act 1956. Similarly, Gujarat High Court in Anarkali Sarabhai versus Commissioner of Income Tax Gujarat also held that holder of preference share is not in the same position as that of a creditor. So NCLT did not hold that Arbitration Act, अब ये important है यहाँ पर, NCLT did not hold that Arbitration Act would prevail over IBC. On the contrary, the NCLT had noted that law on the subject is res integra. The author, in the case of repugnancy between the provisions of these two acts, the Arbitration Act could not prevail over the IBC by any stretch of imagination. Insolvency as a subject matter is not arbitrable. Section 238 of the IBC overrides the Arbitration Act. Thus, both the statutes are special acts which operates in different fields of law. Section 238 of the IBC gives an overriding effect to it over all other statutes. Thus, in case of conflict, the provisions of Arbitration Act would have to give way to the provisions of IBC. This position is supported by the decision of Ahmedabad bench of NCLT in ABG Shipyard Limited versus ICICI Bank. In that case, the NCLT had to determine whether Section 56 of the Electricity Act 2003 would override Section 14 of the IBC. Ruling in negative, the NCLT held that IBC would prevail over the Electricity Act. The reasoning of the NCLT was that both the statutes are special laws. The IBC being later in time would prevail over the Electricity Act. So on that basis, both the arbitration as well as IBC are special act, and IBC section 238 overrides all other statutes, so it will override the Arbitration Act also. So what we are concluding, it is clear that NCLT is satisfied as to the existence of default according to section 7 of the IBC. The existence of an arbitration agreement between the parties would not restrict the NCLT from initiating CIRP against the corporate debtor. Therefore, section 8 of the Arbitration Act would not prevail over section 7 of the IBC. So it is a very important judgment between arbitration and IBC Act. Although NCLT gave decision in favor of Arbitration Act, but in case you go deeper into the analysis of the case, you will find that they have not held that Arbitration Act holds supreme as to the IBC Act.
ठीक है सर.
Gupta ji?
Thank you very much, Vipin Agrawal ji and Bhavya Bansal ji again for this wonderful deliberation. I hope this PPT will be available to us.
We can share, sir.
We can share.
Haan ji. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
really
Thank
feel
you.
enlightened, and we look forward to more such sessions in future
Sure,
also.
sir. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Pleasure.
Haan ji. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you.
Haan ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are
Thank
ending
you,
the
Bhavya.
meeting now with your permission.
Thank you, Bhavya.
Yeah, thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.